You know that annoying stiffness right when you wake up? Sound familiar? Or that twinge in your knee when you go to climb a step, the feeling that your legs don't obey like they used to? Well, for many people, turning 60 seems to be synonymous with welcoming these discomforts, as if they were new life companions, and forever. But what if I told you that one of the most overlooked causes for this loss of freedom, for this slowness that steals your energy, might be hidden in the simplest gesture of your day, or the lack of it? What if the key to unlocking your joints and giving your muscles a new lease on life was, literally, within reach of a glass? Let us know in the comments which city or state you're watching from. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tips like this. Hold on to your curiosity for a bit, because the story I'm going to tell you today might turn what you think about aging upside down and, who knows, give you back some steps you thought were long gone. The silent reality of dehydration in the 60-plus age group. Aging is a journey full of transformations, and our body, this incredible machine, adapts in various ways. One of these changes, very subtle but with serious consequences, happens in our ability to feel thirsty. That's right. As the years go by, our internal alarm for drinking water gets a bit switched off. This means we can be heading towards dehydration without even realizing it. And I'm not talking about that desperate thirst after a scorching hot day. No, I'm talking about chronic, mild dehydration, but one that sticks with us, quietly undermining our health and well-being in its corner. Many of those symptoms that we quickly think, oh, it's just age, persistent tiredness, a feeling of a heavy body, unexplained joint pain, difficulty concentrating, and even occasional dizziness, can actually be our body crying out for help, screaming for more water. The skin becomes drier, the mouth too, urine can become darker and have a strong smell, and we end up going to the bathroom less often. These are the classic signs. But there are others, more insidious: mild mental confusion, that loss of balance that increases the risk of falling, and a much slower recovery after any small effort. The problem is that, often, we blame these signs on age-related issues. The doctor might even investigate a lot of causes, but hydration is rarely the first suspect. And there's more. Some elderly people, fearing urinary incontinence or the difficulty of going to the bathroom frequently, end up drinking less water on purpose, creating a very dangerous vicious cycle. Common medications at this stage of life, like diuretics, can also make us lose more fluid, worsening the situation. Studies show that a good portion of elderly individuals who are hospitalized have some level of dehydration, which can complicate other health problems and make recovery take longer. Here in the United States, with life expectancy constantly increasing, this issue becomes even more serious. An older person's body naturally has a smaller water reserve than a younger person's, making every drop even more valuable. Dehydration isn't just feeling thirsty. It's a state that affects the functioning of every cell, every organ, and, as we're about to see, has a direct and surprising impact on our mobility. Meet Mr. Arthur Thompson. A passion interrupted. Let me introduce you to Mr. Arthur Thompson. At 68, he was the picture of quiet vitality. He wasn't an athlete, but he had a passion that was uniquely his early morning walks in the local park. Every single day, rain or shine, there he was, with his steady pace and a friendly smile for passersby. These walks weren't just exercise. They were his ritual, his time to reflect on life, the source of his energy and good humor. He knew every tree, every shortcut, the song of every bird. The park was his sanctuary. However, over the last 2 years, something started to change. First, it was a slight stiffness in his knees upon waking, which he blamed on the night air. Then, the small inclines, which used to be easy, began to demand more effort, a pause for breath he didn't need before. The twinges became more frequent, sharper. Mr. Thompson, a proud man who cherished his independence, began to feel like his body was betraying him. Little by little, the distance of his walks shortened. The complete route through the park became a bittersweet memory. He limited himself to the blocks closer to home, and even those, at times, felt like a marathon. The frustration was visible. His morning smile gave way to a worried expression. He saw his friends, some even older, maintaining their routines, and wondered, why me? What am I doing wrong? Visits to the doctors became more common. Test after test. The diagnosis was always a bit vague. It's your age, Mr. Thompson, mild arthritis, normal for your age, natural wear and tear of the joints. They prescribed anti-inflammatory drugs that relieved the pain for a while, but the stiffness, the slowness, that feeling of having his legs stuck in quicksand, that continued. He tried physical therapy, which helped, but progress was slow, almost unnoticeable day to day. The idea that his beloved walks would soon be just a memory began to settle like a shadow in his thoughts. The emotional blow was significant. Losing mobility wasn't just physical. It was losing independence, pleasure, an important part of who he was. An invitation for a longer walk with his grandchildren generated anxiety instead of joy. That sense of freedom his walks gave him was being replaced by a feeling of being trapped in his own body. He started to isolate himself a bit, declining invitations that involved much walking, ashamed of not being able to keep up, afraid of being a burden. Resignation, that dangerous feeling that this is just how it is and there's nothing to be done, began to knock on his door. He was almost giving up, almost accepting that stiffness and slowness had won, that the park would only be a view from his window. Light at the end of the tunnel. An unexpected discovery. Life, sometimes, has curious ways of showing solutions where we least expect them. For Mr. Thompson, the change didn't come from a famous specialist or a miracle treatment from TV. It came from a casual conversation, almost unimportant, in a general practitioner's waiting room, while he was waiting for yet another routine appointment, already somewhat hopeless. Next to him, a friendly lady, Mrs. Eleanor, in her early 70s, was commenting on how she had regained her energy for dance classes. Mr. Thompson, more out of politeness than genuine interest, asked her secret. Mrs. Eleanor smiled and said something that, at first, seemed too simple to him. "Oh, my dear, I started drinking water properly." Sounds silly, right? But my grandson, who studies nutrition, insisted so much, explained a few things to me, that I decided to try. I took it seriously, you know. Glass after glass, all day long. Mr. Thompson grimaced. Water. He drank water, of course. A glass at lunch, another at dinner, maybe a sip when he felt very thirsty. He thought it was enough. The idea that something so basic could have such a big impact on aches and stiffness that even expensive medicine couldn't solve seemed silly. He thanked her for the tip, but, deep down, he didn't have much faith. However, Mrs. Eleanor's words, spoken with such certainty and with that sparkle in her eyes of someone who had rediscovered a pleasure, kept echoing in his head. That same week, by a coincidence some would call fate, he found an old article in a health magazine his wife kept. The title was something like, "Your Body's Secret Lubricant You're Ignoring." Curious, he started reading. The article talked about how hydration was important for joints and muscles, especially at an older age. It explained how water was fundamental for synovial fluid, for muscle elasticity, for cellular energy. The information in the article seemed to fit perfectly with what Mrs. Eleanor had said. Still a bit skeptical, but with a small flame of curiosity lit, after all, what did he have to lose? Mr. Thompson decided he would try. It wasn't a new medicine full of side effects, it wasn't an expensive or painful treatment. It was just water. He thought, "I'll try this for a few weeks, it can't hurt." Little did he know that this simple decision, born from an accidental conversation and a forgotten article, was about to start an amazing transformation in his life. That little drop of hope was the beginning of his journey back to mobility. The hidden power of water, how hydration unlocks mobility. What Mr. Thompson was about to discover, and what perhaps many of us still don't quite realize, is that water is much more than a simple thirst quencher. It's an essential nutrient, a fundamental piece for our body to function properly, especially when we talk about mobility, joints, and muscles, areas that become so sensitive after 60. Let's understand how this magic happens in a very simple way. First, imagine your joints, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, as if they were gears in a machine. For these gears to work smoothly, without grinding, without wearing out too much, they need lubrication. This lubrication is provided by a fluid called synovial fluid. And guess what one of the main ingredients of this precious fluid is? Yes, water. When we're well hydrated, we ensure our joints have this natural oil in the right quantity and quality. This reduces friction between bones, relieves stiffness, pain, and can even prevent joint inflammation that so often limits our movements. It's like oiling the hinges of a door so it opens and closes without creaking. Now, let's talk about muscles. They are, to a large extent, made of water. Good hydration is super important to maintain the elasticity, strength, and contraction capacity of our muscles. Well-hydrated muscles are less prone to cramps, fatigue, and injuries. Furthermore, water is essential for transporting important nutrients to muscle cells and for removing waste that accumulates there during exertion. It also aids in protein production, a key process for repairing and maintaining muscle mass, which, as we know, tends to decrease with age, a process called sarcopenia. So, drinking enough water is like giving fuel and repair material for your muscles to stay strong and agile. But the benefits don't stop there. Dehydration, even if mild, can be a real danger to our safety. It can cause postural hypotension, that dizziness we feel when we stand up quickly, significantly increasing the risk of falls. And falling is one of the biggest fears and a major cause of serious problems in old age. Staying hydrated helps stabilize blood pressure and maintain balance, protecting us from these accidents. And our brain. It also depends heavily on water. Good hydration helps with mental clarity, improves concentration, memory, and reduces that feeling of mental fatigue. An alert mind is fundamental for motor coordination, for us to react quickly to obstacles, and therefore, to walk more safely. Symptoms like mild mental confusion or difficulty focusing, which we often blame on age, can be a sign that your brain is thirsty. Another important point is regulating body temperature. As we age, our ability to perceive and respond to temperature changes can diminish. Water helps our body maintain a stable temperature, preventing us from overheating on hot days or when we exercise, which directly affects our disposition and ability to stay active. Here's an interesting idea we can use. Think of hydration as a way to store health and mobility for the future. Each glass of water isn't just for now. It's an investment, a deposit in your savings account of well-being for your joints, strength for your muscles, and mental clarity for the years to come. It's very important to remember that, as we've already mentioned, the sensation of thirst decreases with age. We can no longer rely solely on a dry mouth to remind us to drink water. We need to be proactive, take the initiative. When Mr. Thompson decided to take the water story seriously, he was, unknowingly at first, activating all these powerful, hidden mechanisms within his own body. He was providing the raw material for his gears to turn smoothly again and for his engines to regain their power. Mr. Thompson's journey back, small sips, big victories with a new water bottle always nearby, a tip he picked up from that article. Mr. Thompson began his experiment. In the beginning, he later confessed, it felt like an obligation. Going to the bathroom more often was a minor inconvenience. He didn't feel any miraculous overnight change. Skepticism still lingered in his thoughts. Could it really be? He wondered. But, after the first week of drinking water consciously and disciplinedly, he measured the amount, following the tip to drink liquids regularly throughout the day, even without feeling thirsty. Something subtle began to happen. The first thing he noticed was upon waking. That morning stiffness in his knees, which felt like cement drying in his joints, started to lessen. It was still there, but it was different. Less severe, more pliable. He could get out of bed a little more easily, without so many quiet groans. In the second week, during one of his short, cautious walks around the block, he realized that the usual twinge in his hip took longer to appear. He managed an extra lap around the small park near his house, something he hadn't done in months. It was a small breath of encouragement. Coincidence, he thought, but a discreet smile appeared on his lips. He stuck Geomade with the water. He also started including sugar-free herbal teas and increased his intake of water-rich fruits, like watermelon and oranges, remembering general hydration tips. After a month of drinking water properly, the changes were undeniable. The joint pain hadn't completely disappeared, but it had significantly decreased, both in intensity and frequency. He felt less rusty. His energy seemed to have returned, not that youthful burst, but a more constant disposition throughout the day. His wife commented that he seemed more cheerful, less prone to complaining. The real test, the emotional turning point, came about 2 months later. It was a sunny Sunday, and his grandchildren invited him for a walk in the park, that same park that had been his sanctuary. His first impulse was to refuse. The fear of failing, of pain, was still there. But something inside him, a new confidence fueled by those small daily victories, made him accept. He went, with his water bottle slung over his shoulder. He walked slowly at first, testing his limits. And, to his surprise and immense joy, he managed to keep up with his grandchildren for a very long stretch, a path he hadn't taken in almost 2 years. There was a moment when he stopped, not because of excessive pain or fatigue, but to observe the trees, feel the sun on his face, listen to the songs of the birds he loved so much. Tears came to his eyes. They weren't tears of sadness or frustration, but of gratitude and relief. That simple act of walking, which had been stolen from him, was being returned. Mr. Thompson's transformation wasn't an overnight miracle, but a gradual reconquest, built sip by sip. He didn't become a 30-year-old again, but he regained a quality of life, a freedom of movement he thought he had lost forever. His morning walks became part of his routine again, perhaps a little slower, a little shorter than before, but filled with the same pleasure and meaning. He became an enthusiastic advocate for hydration, telling his story to anyone who would listen, especially his friends of the same age who complained of pain and limitations, showing that sometimes, the most powerful solution lies in the simplicity of a glass of water. Mr. Thompson's story is inspiring and, most importantly, it can happen to you too. The key he found, proper hydration, is there, available to all of us. Maybe you're thinking, but how do I know if I'm drinking enough water, especially if I don't feel that thirsty? That's a great question. Here are some practical tips, many of them based on what science and experience teach us. 1. Don't wait until you're thirsty. As we've said, the thirst mechanism may not be reliable after 60. Make it a habit to drink water at fixed times throughout the day. Make it a routine. 2. Keep water always visible and easily accessible. Leave a water bottle, a glass, or a pitcher always nearby, on your bedside table, in the living room, in the kitchen. If it helps you remember, use mobile apps that remind you to drink water. 3. Observe the color of your urine. Light, pale yellow urine usually means you're well hydrated. If it's dark and has a strong odor, it's a sign you need to drink more fluids. 4. Vary your hydration sources, but in moderation. Pure water is the best choice, but you can supplement with herbal teas, unsweetened, coconut water, and diluted natural juices. Milk also helps with hydration. 5. Eat water-rich fruits and vegetables. Watermelon, melon, orange, cucumber, tomato, and lettuce are great examples of foods that help with hydration. 6. Pay extra attention on hot days or when you exercise. During these times, we lose more fluid through sweat, so you need to drink more water as well. 7. Be careful with excessive caffeine and alcohol. Drinks like too much coffee, strong black teas, and alcoholic beverages can make you urinate more. This can lead to dehydration if you don't replace the fluids properly. 8. Before making big changes, especially if you have any health problems, like kidney or heart issues, talk to your doctor. They will be able to tell you the ideal amount of fluids for your specific case. Mr. Thompson's story is a powerful example of how a simple change can bring about a huge transformation. Don't underestimate the power of hydration. Now, I want to invite you to join this conversation. Have you ever stopped to think about how your hydration might be affecting your mobility and well-being? Do you have any special tips for staying hydrated? Share your experiences and questions in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else, just like Mr. Thompson's inspired us today. And if you found this content useful and believe it can help others rediscover their mobility and vitality, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends and family, and, of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next videos, designed especially for you who seek active and healthy aging. Together, we can unlock many paths. Well, we're reaching the end of our conversation today, but we hope it's the beginning of a new phase for many of you. Mr. Thompson's story shows us in a surprising and, at the same time, very encouraging way, that not all stiffness, not all slowness that comes with age is a final sentence. Often, the key to a life with more movement, less pain, and more freedom lies in something as basic and accessible as the water we drink, or fail to drink. Drinking water properly isn't just about quenching thirst, It's about nourishing every cell, lubricating every joint, strengthening every muscle, and protecting our body from the inside out. It's an act of self-care, a daily investment in your quality of life, your independence, and your ability to continue enjoying the activities you love. Remember, small changes in habits, like keeping a water bottle nearby and sipping throughout the day, can lead to big transformations. It's not about seeking miracles, but about rediscovering the power that already exists in your body and in the simple choices you make. May Mr. Thompson's story inspire you to look more closely at your hydration and, perhaps, unlock a mobility and vitality you thought were dormant. The promise of a lighter, freer life with more movement is within your reach. Start today. Drink a glass of water with this in mind. Your health will thank you, and your mobility too.